Welcome to the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast, where we unlock the secrets to wealth and prosperity. I'm your host, Jessica Marie, a radical money coach.
And I'm Amy Bell, master designer, brand consultant, and founder of White Lightning Communications.
Together, we'll dive deep into the scientific principles of wealth outlined in the Science of Getting Rich, ensuring financial abundance with mathematical certainty.
Join us for real, empowering conversations about money, wealth, and the mindset shifts needed for true prosperity.
Whether you're ready to rise up or already on your journey to riches, tune in weekly for insights that will elevate your wealth consciousness.
Hello and
Friday.
Friday. I love how we do this on Fridays. It's always such a happy day. We are back for another episode of the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. And this is chapter 9, ladies. We are already on chapter 9. And I am so excited about this chapter because, like I was just saying to Amy before we began, I don't even know if you know that you have this powerful, powerful tool that can literally work in your favor or to disempower you and to create something that you actually don't want. So I'm really excited about this chapter, Amy. How are you feeling about this chapter?
This week is a good time for this chapter.
I love it. I love it. Perfect. This is real life we're talking about here. And the more real we can be, the more we can see ourselves in each other, and we can start to connect the dots and see how perhaps maybe we're doing things that are actually not helping us to achieve the things we want.
Yeah.
Shall we dive right into it?
Yeah, let's just go. Honestly, the will is one of the hardest things to keep in check. And I think with being entrepreneurs, with deciding to choose this most crazy path, it can be a wonderful path, it can be a lucrative path, but it's also like, oh my God, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who is an entrepreneur as well. And the roller coaster of emotion that goes on with people who decide to take on work in this way, in the entrepreneur way, you need a village to bring you back around. Like this, I think is coming up in the mastermind. But like the will is what's going to get you to the point where you can get over these little emotional humps, and it's much nicer and much more fun if you can do it with other people. So if you're having a bad day, you need to surround yourself with women or people who can sort of go, hey, like give your head a shake, person, get over yourself, get back on this horse. You love it 99% of the time, but this 1% you're having some, you're just having a shit day, and that's cool. But it's not good to be like the time between recognizing that it's a crappy day and getting back on the horse and doing like a state change, a mind state change, has to get closer and closer together. Otherwise, it'll eat you up.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right, Amy. And, when we were on that mastermind call earlier this week, and, there was, one particular woman that was struggling, and because we were all there and we were able to like rally around her and support her and lift her up and give her a different perspective, she was able to come out of that so quickly versus if she didn't have a mastermind or a group of women to help her, she could have stayed stuck in that for days. And then she could have spiraled downwards. So having a support system, being part of a mastermind is so important, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Now, Chapter 9, being all about how to use the will, First of all, it's understanding that we have five senses. And those five senses we're all familiar with. They only tell us where we are. They only tell us where we are in this present moment. What I can see in my environment, what I can smell, what I can taste, what I can touch, what I can hear. It tells me where I am. But we have these higher faculties that maybe you're not even aware of, or maybe you've heard other people talk about them, but you don't even really understand the power of them. And I love how this chapter is all about the power of the will. So your higher faculties are those things like intuition, perception, the will. The thing about the will is that you can use the will. You can use it for your advantage or your disadvantage. But here's the thing. You should not use your will on another person, because that's manipulation. He says in the book, just as it is flagrantly wrong to coerce people by mental power as it is to coerce them by physical power. If compelling people by physical force to do things for you reduces them to slavery, then compelling them by mental means accomplishes exactly the same thing. The only difference is the methods. If taking things from people by physical force is robbery, then taking things by mental force is robbery also. There is no difference in principle. So understanding that you have this powerful force, this higher faculty called the will, it is not ethical to use this on someone else, because you don't know what's right for someone else. You don't know what someone else needs. So you should only use the power of the will as it relates to yourself for your own good.
I think a person can tell when the energy is in the will of coercion. So if someone's trying to sell me something, if they want to sell me a service, you get the feeling that you are being manipulated, or they're trying to push their will onto you because of whatever they've got going on in their mind, right? So as entrepreneurs, we are also salespeople. So the will, we have to kind of turn it back on ourselves and only use the power of that higher faculty on our own ability to stay focused and stay in a good mindset. Like, the will is keeping you in a good mindset. And then when you are approaching someone about joining you or you servicing them in some way, it comes as a creative collaboration instead of a salesy kind of competition or
coercion.
That's the word, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in sales calls where I feel like I am like on the receiving end of someone's desperation.
It's a frequency. It's a vibration. Like, you can feel that.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely can feel that. And using one of your higher faculties is allowing you to sense that.
Yeah. Well, you've got your intuition that's like, something's off with this. Like, we've got some people listening. So, like, have you ever been in a situation where you feel like someone is imposing their will upon you to force you into making a decision that may not be right for you? Now, on the flip side, no one can force you to do anything. However, some people in the sales arena, and a lot of entrepreneurs are also their own salesperson, they can get pushy. And I don't like pushy. I don't want to be pushed. I want to have a conversation. I want you to get to know me. And that's what, like, there is a will to say, I'm not going to be that kind of salesperson. Even if my bank account says I have $1 in it and I really need this sale, you still have to come back around to, like, the will is on me to stay in the mindset of service and only offer this to someone if they need it, not push them into something that they don't need out of salesmanship on my part, right?
Well said. Exactly. And that's a great question you posed to the audience, because yeah, we do have a few people live with us. And can you tell when you are being coerced in a sales pitch? Can you feel the coercion or the desperation or the will of the other person to try and manipulate you into doing what it is they want you to do? I'd be really curious
Vice
to.
versa. Like, have you ever felt that you were being like finding yourself in that sort of pushy position where you were imposing your will on someone else for the sake of it? Yeah.
I mean, I think most of us have been on both sides, whether you're a kid and you're trying to like coerce your parent to give you what you want, like I think we've all been on both sides, right?
Yeah.
What I want to get into now, which is like really, really powerful in this chapter, is a couple of ideas. And this book is all about ideas. By the way, this book is available on Amazon. This book is gorgeous, designed by the beautiful Amy Bell. This book is 114 years old. It's a study book. You're going to want your own copy. You're going to want to study this book. If you really believe that you were born to be rich, that you are meant to experience wealth and abundance, then you're going to want to get a copy of this book. You're going to want to study it, because there is a science of getting rich. It is an exact science, and failure is impossible. Amy and I have many experiences that could attest to that statement. Now, it's a book of ideas. Now, you can either accept these ideas or you can reject these ideas. But by accepting these ideas and integrating them into your life, you're going to notice some shifts happening. And here's a couple ideas. Number one, this invisible substance, we call it original substance. It's that stuff that permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. It's the stuff that we impress our thoughts onto, and we can literally create the formation of the things that we think of. This substance is friendly to you, and it's more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it.
Yes.
Now, hold on a second. Right? Like, that is just one sentence.
Yeah.
One sentence, and it is powerful. It is powerful. Have you ever even imagined, first of all, that there is this formless substance that you can literally impress your desires onto, and it will create the thing you desire, and that it is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it? Like, are you kidding?
I hear this sentence, and I repeat it in my head, but for some reason, when I reread this chapter last night, that sentence jumped out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it is. It is happy to give me what I want. I'm the one who's blocking whatever, it's me that's sort of stopping it. And when I think about it that way, it's kind of like the tree that grows. It's growing. Like, it's never stopping. Weeds, hello, we're coming into spring in this area. There's like a bazillion dandelions. They just want to grow. The universe, the energy that we can use to help ourselves grow is in those plants, and it's just, the universe is providing the space so that it can happen. It wants them to grow. Why cut them? Let's just keep dandelions. Because every time we cut them, it just comes back again. So why bother cutting them, honestly? Anyway.
It all depends on your desire. What do you desire? So he says, from that sentence, he says, to get rich, you need only to use your willpower upon yourself.
It's the toughest job.
Like, that sounds so simple, but yet it is so complex. And so it requires so much intention and consciousness and effort. But he just says, like, to get rich, you only need to use your willpower on yourself. When you know what to think and do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do the right things. That is the legitimate use of the will in getting what you want. To use it in holding yourself to the right course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking and acting in the certain way. In the certain way.
Okay, I'm thinking that the will needs to be imposed if your desire level for this thing is dropping. Because if you've got the desire, the will doesn't really need to be engaged, because you will naturally flow into, thinking about this thing on your leisure time. You'll be naturally wanting to do this thing all the time, whatever it is you're trying to bring into your reality, right? So if the desired level stays up, then you're good. But if it starts to drop, that's when the will has to come in. You have to now make an effort to actually build your desire cup back up, and then be able to kind of coast for a bit. And then it might dip again and you have to bring the will in. It's some people, there's the long weekend coming up here. Some people may be like, oh, I'm going to have a Netflix, marathon on Sunday on my day off. But the will says, you really shouldn't do that. And if your desire is up, you're like, no, I'm sitting at my computer and I'm going to start creating stuff for my clients because I love doing it so much. Or, I'm going to go do a run because I want to get my health back up. If that's a desire that drops kind of more often than not, then the will needs to be activated to come in and say, no Netflix, get out there and run, girly.
And also, we've got this invisible force, the paradigm that comes into play, right? So like our subconscious programming, it wants to live too, Amy, right?
You are correct.
It wants to live too. So it comes in, right, into our mind, and it'll start saying things. And we can either accept those things and then move in that direction, or we can use the will to reinforce the desire.
Just use the damn will.
He says, the more steady and continuous your faith and purpose, the more rapidly you will get rich, because you will make only positive impressions upon this formless substance, and you will not get neutralized or offset by the negative impressions. The paradigm creates negative impressions, and it will neutralize or offset any headway that we have made in the direction of our goal, of our desire. Mm-hmm. He says, as this impression spreads, all things are set moving towards its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and the things yet uncreated are stirred toward bringing into being that which you want. All force begins to be exerted in that direction. All things begin to move towards you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced towards doing the things necessary to the fulfilling of your desires, and they work for you unconsciously.
I have a question for you, Jessica. Where is the recorded version of this book? Where is the author going to actually read this book for me so I don't have to listen to some other person do it? Huh?
I am currently in the process of recording the Audible version. It is more time consuming than I thought, Amy. I started off and I'm like, my partner, Carlo, he is into audio engineering. He's got all the gear and all the setup. So we go down there and I'm just like, yeah, this is just going to take, I'm just going to whip this out, right? I'm just going to boom, boom, boom. And one chapter, these chapters are not long. They're like 3 to 5 pages long. One chapter takes a whole hour. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like the perfection that's required. Anyways, it's coming. It is coming.
Okay, good. Because right now I can feel like the passion in your voice when you're reading it. And I really hope you inject that into into the Audible version, because a lot of Audible people just read it with no passion. And it's like, you need to have passion with this. You need to, like, imagine the women that you're talking to and you're just like, just do it. Like, that's the kind of energy that needs to go into your reading.
Yeah, and I've got the passion, and sometimes I'm told, like, you're that's too much. Calm down.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. If you're passionate, put the passion in. I say, just do it.
I know. There's some there. There's definitely a level of passion in there. So that was just one idea. Okay, talking about how this formless substance, it wants you to get what you want to get, right? It's more excited for you to realize your dreams than you are, because it's literally source, God, the all that is, seeking expression through you, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. You can actually experiment with this. He says you can check all of this by starting a negative impression in the formless substance. Doubt or unbelief is as certain to start a movement away from you as faith and purpose are to start one towards you. So be mindful and conscious of your thoughts, because those thoughts of fear, doubt, and uncertainty, they will as quickly move the things that you desire away from you as they will towards you with those positive thoughts. That's how powerful our minds are, people. Like, oh my gosh.
And so if you could have like a meter, like that's monitoring your thoughts all the time, going, oh, moving farther away, get back, come over here. Like, because I sometimes think, like, I'm on a trajectory, I got positive stuff going on, and then something comes into my mind, I lose faith, or I lose momentum, or my desire drops. And then that also is sending out these ripples into the universe, but they're sort of in reverse ripples, or like away from you and bringing you in. And so, like, I believe that the less time you spend in that negative headspace, the better, obviously. And you can sort of reverse the sort of negativity that you just did by having like
I like how you said about having this like barometer to gauge. We kind of do, it's called your feelings. True. And if you can pay attention to your feelings, you know what you're thinking, because if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're going to feel negative things, right? So how are you feeling? I am feeling kind of deflated today. I'm feeling unmotivated. I'm feeling, frustrated. Well, you can circle that back, reverse engineer it. What are you thinking? Yeah. What are the things you're thinking, right? So we kind of do have a gauge. Now, here's another idea.
It'll be fun to have one above our heads walking around so you can see it, or in front of your, maybe build it into your glasses so no one else can see it. You're like, oh, look, I'm heading to the gutter.
Yeah, or an alarm that goes off, when you start thinking negative thoughts, beep, beep, beep. So here's the next powerful idea I want to share with you, because this is about poverty. And I think you know where I'm going with this, Amy. This one blew my mind, actually, when I was introduced to this idea, and now I have accepted it. My subconscious mind has accepted this radical idea, and it's changing my life. It's changing the way I experience the world. It's changing how I feel, how I think. Check this out. If you want to become rich, you must not make a study of poverty. Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. Health is never attained by studying disease and thinking about disease. Righteousness is not to be promoted by studying sin and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. So to further on, he talks about to focus on the cure, for example. Don't focus on the disease, focus on the cure. Don't focus on poverty, focus on wealth. He says, do not talk about poverty. Do not investigate it or concern yourself with it. Never mind what its causes are. You have nothing to do with them. What concerns you is the cure. Do not spend your time in charitable work or charity movements. All charity only tends to perpetuate the wretchedness of the aims of it. It aims to eradicate. I do not say that you should be hard-hearted or unkind and refuse to hear the cry of the need, but you must not try and eradicate poverty in any of the conventional ways. Put poverty behind you and put all that pertains to it behind you and make good. Get rich. That is the best way you can help the poor.
Well, we both belong to a group on Facebook called From Wallet to Wealth. And you have your study of money mindset and the money mind. And so the Wallet to Wealth group at the moment is raising funds for disadvantaged women and children that come out of abusive situations, right? And there's other, women's shelters around. And so rather than going into a big conversation about, the state of these women, the Wallet to Wealth group is about changing the perception and coming at that, raising funds from a way of empowering women as opposed to, we're supporting a women's shelter. We are supporting a women's shelter and we are raising money for a women's shelter. However, we're doing it under the pretense that we want everyone to expand and grow and become rich, so that now we don't need to focus on the poverty side. The other thing, I think there was something in here about do not talk about a time in your life when you were in a state of poverty, or I think there was something like that in there. Like, don't keep bringing that up. Now, I have it's not a problem with that, but I've been to many, many workshops and speeches and events where there is this methodology in the way you deliver a speech, especially if it's a sales speech, where you talk about where you were. I mean, I was this and I had nothing. And then, my life was just basically crap. And then all of a sudden I changed my mind and I got to here. Now, to me, it's an origin story, right? People want to know your origin story. However, every time you speak that origin story, in my mind, you are bringing it closer back to you, because you can't say those words about I was in poverty, or I was in a women's shelter, or I was this, or I was that, without your mind going back to that space. And then that energy is being sent out again every single time you tell your origin story. So in my opinion, the origin story starts right now. It's not like, I don't want to go back and talk about, the days when I was this or that, because I feel it's a manipulation. If I can do it, you can do it. It's not setting an example. It's like, I used my principles to get here when I was over here. And every time I talk about over here, I bring it into my own subconscious again, or my mind. It's very difficult to not bring it back into your mind again when you keep repeating it.
And by bringing it into your mind, you're impressing it again on the formless substance. And I want to say thank you to you for bringing that to my attention, because that's something that I used to reference, here and there more often in my earlier years of entrepreneurship, as I shared my origin story. And you're absolutely right. Bringing that past up into the forefront, saying the things about growing up on welfare and all of that stuff, it does nothing to help my situation now. And it does nothing really to empower the people that want to hear this message. It's about the message. The message is empowering of itself. When you learn about the power of your own mind and what it has the potential to do. He says, what tends to do away with poverty is not the getting of pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting the pictures of wealth into the minds of the poor. Right.
And so every time you say that story, you're putting the image of your poverty back into your mind. It is a very well-known sales pitch, or when you're doing a speak for sales kind of talk, there is a flow that will get people into your story and buy in and see the difference between you then and you now. I just think that it's not worth it. They can look at you now and get that vibration without even needing to go back to what you were. Your vibration now should stand on its own 2 feet. You shouldn't need the woe is me, I was this, sitting on a park bench eating out of a paper bag story. You now, the energy you walk into the room with should be enough. Yeah, absolutely. I feel that deeply. And that has changed the way I show up, the way I speak, and what I share. So this idea of, only allowing your mind to think about wealth, abundance, riches is what is going to bring that to you, and using your will to hold that desire, that mental image with faith and purpose that it is coming. It is here and it is coming. I like what he says here about the poor do not need charity. They need inspiration. Charity only sends them a loaf of bread to keep them alive in their wretchedness, or gives them an entertainment to forget their worries for an hour or two. But inspiration will cause them to rise out of their misery. If you want to help the poor, demonstrate to them that they can become rich. Prove it by getting rich yourself. And that's what we're doing here, ladies. That's what we're doing. We are on a mission to rise, to get rich, because it is our natural and inherent divine birthright to experience wealth, to be wealth. And the only thing that is in between ourselves and our experience is our mind. Our mind is the key to everything. Our mind has the power to create everything that we desire. Absolutely everything. Well, it looks like next week we have an additional chapter on the will, because it's that important. We got to talk about this again next week, and I am sure there will be, more points to pull up. But it is a big thing, especially if you work on your own. You really have to work on this skill and hone it in, build your desire, build your faith. Get your mind in a good spot, and just keep the purpose at the forefront. And then the will needs to be activated less and less.
Going forward, ladies, catch yourself when you are thinking about lack, limitation, poverty. Catch yourself and replace it. Do not speak of poverty. Do not think of poverty. Do not look upon poverty with a poverty mindset. Know that there is only wealth, there is only abundance, and everything else is just an illusion. We'll see you next week.
Illusion. Outro on that one. Drop the mic. Have a great
week. Bye.
Thank you all for joining us today on the Science of Getting Rich for Women podcast. Your presence means the world to us.
Before you go, we have a special request. If you found today's episode enlightening, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more incredible listeners like yourself.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and family who are ready to rise to new levels of prosperity.
Before we sign off, remember to connect with us on Facebook and get yourself a copy of The Science of Getting Rich for Women on Amazon.
As we close out today's episode, remember how powerful you are. Hold strong with faith and purpose that you do get what you want, and watch as the universe conspires to fulfill your dreams.